Hi. Okay. So over the course of not that long actually, like maybe like a couple of weeks now. Actually, probably even less than that. I've started reading this book, The Way of the Superior Man. I mean, very much so because, or like by the recommendation of Hamza. Um, this being a book that he very highly recommends, and yeah, I'm reading through it quite slowly. So the book is like broken into parts, as I can probably show you. Yeah, here's like a part one, and then within that part there are individual sections like this. Here's section 1, 2, and so forth. And yeah, I've been about reading one of these sections a day. I've been doing it like as I take a little break from exercise. So in case you don't know how my exercise routine works, actually I'm not even sure I've shared it, like the specifics of it, in any video. So I do my exercising in, like, you could say 2 parts. I do half of it, then I take a little break, during which I read, and what I'm currently reading is this book, and then I do the rest. So yeah, another thing you gotta know about me is that I'm a horribly slow reader. So for me, like, for how long that breaks, duration is one of these sections. This book is plenty long. Because again, it, like, an average person probably reads one of these sections in like less than 5 minutes. Easy. For me, it probably takes like 15. So I do have dyslexia, by the way. But yeah. So there's a few sections discussing fear, or as this book kind of puts it, you know. So the first one is like section 4. No, which shows up well. Know your real edge and don't fake it. And what it's talking about there is knowing, in a sense, the edge of fear. So knowing how much you can push yourself towards your fear, towards facing your fears, without completely being overwhelmed by them, let's say. So in a way where you're always facing your fears, yet not pushing so far beyond them that you're in a sense escaping the actual process of learning to face them, but also not hiding from them and not facing them at all. So like the exact middle point there. And yeah, so reading that part, and then section 8 also discusses that. It's called Lean Just Beyond Your Edge. Yeah, that's the one that discusses more so like just barely being living in that like state where you face your fears a little bit. So yeah, that's gotten me thinking a lot about what I'm scared of and how I can, as the book puts it, live on my edge, live on the edge of fear, and slowly expand outwards from that, so slowly become capable of facing things that perhaps seem completely impossible for me to face now. And another thing that I learned from this book, or that this book really brought up that I hadn't thought of, was how I, and very well you as well, may be scared of the lifestyle changes that good habits like might bring. Or let's say you have any kind of business idea or something you really want to work on. But one of the things that keeps you from actually taking steps towards it isn't just, you being lazy, although obviously that could very well be a part of it as well, but instead the fact that you're intimidated by the changes in lifestyle that pursuing your actual goals that you want to achieve may bring. That's certainly something I realized from this book. And yeah, so I after reading these things, I ended up writing down some of the things I'm like afraid of, and immediately this thing somewhat relates to the first thing I wrote down, which was opening up on YouTube. So I, just like I'm sure everybody who possibly ever watch this, has things that they feel embarrassed about or regret from their past or whatever. That's one of the big things that makes self improvement so, you know, desirable, is because you have some things you're not exactly happy about. And, I won't start listing out things. Like I just mentioned, one of the things that bothers me is the fact that I'm scared of opening up about some things. But in case you're, you know, starting to wonder what kind of horrible things I've done, I mean, well, first of all, I'm not talking about, anything that would be, harmful to other people. I think I'll just leave it at that. So no need to theorize about stuff like that. But yeah, there are things I regret, things I'm really embarrassed about, and while I'd like to open up about them, especially with, you know, when I started this my self improvement journey series, one of the biggest things here was that I really wanted it to be as authentic as possible, and I want to in the future share some of these things, but I just don't feel comfortable doing so. So yeah, even though I know they may even help me, and this kind of relates to what I just said about the book, even though I know they may very well help me do better on YouTube, succeed better, or just in general move on with life better if I'm able to kind of let go of the embarrassment and regret of past actions. Yeah. And especially, some of these things that I'm afraid of opening up about, or yeah, I can, without saying or without going into specifics on them, say that they are something that I know a lot of people could relate to, which makes it even funnier because it's not like a lot of those things are even special to me. And so the next thing I wrote down is social interaction. The thing is, it probably doesn't come across, through YouTube very well. You can't tell if I'm socially anxious or not. Let me tell you something. I am, and really badly so. Um, I've never really had to struggle with being alone, but I've felt alone a lot of the time in my life. And the reason for that is, so let me just use like high school as an example. When I was in high school, like a few years ago, I had friends. I had people I would hang out with. But like, I was the quiet kid, the jokes about, memes about the quiet kid and stuff. Yeah, I was that kid. Um I very rarely said anything unless directly asked something. And it was really hard for me to contribute to conversations, still is. And yeah, I'm fully aware that a big part of this is just lack of practice. I could go into a lot of detail on this topic, but I like to keep it somewhat short and you know concise. Um, yeah, I when speaking with people, like I call what I have a social anxiety, but I'm not exactly sure if that's completely right because I'm not as anxious about social interactions as I am just terrible at. So it's like I've worked in I mentioned like in a video a while back that I worked at a store, and you can guess that that means a lot of customer interactions. But that never really bothered me. So it's not that I'm that anxious about just social interaction in general. It's more so when I am just like having casual conversations where it like really starts bothering me. Because I have a hard time making friends. Because I feel like I'm really afraid of people viewing me in a negative light if I say something, wrong. If I say something that could make me come off as weird or annoying or whatever. Insert negative word here. Um, yeah, and that has led to me being a very quiet person generally. I don't really speak a lot. And yeah, the advantage of that is that I'm certainly very unoffensive to people generally, but it also means that like nobody really knows me, and therefore it's really hard to, become friends with me, obviously. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of a similar thing as YouTube. I have a hard time opening up in just conversations in general. I have a hard time opening up on YouTube. Yeah, I guess they're kind of related, huh? Yeah. And the next thing on my list that I have written down is something that relates to how I mentioned that you may very well be just like I am, intimidated by lifestyle changes brought about by pursuing your good habits and your goals. So, yeah, the next thing is giving up the comfortable. And yeah, that what I mean by that is pretty much giving up what you know and replacing that with something that like, yeah, you kind of know it would be better, but at the same time, it's still the unknown. And you know, the unknown is scary. And yeah, and I want to be clear when I'm referring to like giving up the comfortable, I'm really just speaking of like, the fear of giving up the comfortable, not so much, any kind of laziness aspect to it of like, wanting to keep those, let's say, easy things in your life. That's not what I'm referring to here. Um, yeah, and the final thing that I have written down here, I mean, I could probably come up with more if I really wanted to. But yeah, the final thing I have written down here is failure and just not being good enough. A fear I've struggled with for just about my entire life. Um, I've always felt like lesser than others, if that makes sense. I like, let's say in school, I even if I would do like pretty well at school, which I did decent, I would like I was a above average student, but I constantly felt like I was way worse than others, which is really weird. Like I just don't know why. It's really hard to, start explaining since I myself like I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Like if, say, the teacher asks a question and I don't know the answer to it, yet let's say not just someone else but multiple people do know the answer, I would really heavily judge myself for that. And I would think like, oh, so I'm just like dumber than all these people. Even if like generally speaking, even maybe in the same subject, I might do, better than them, maybe get like better test scores or whatever. Like that could happen, but that didn't even matter. It was just that one instance that I paid attention to of like me not being like as good as other people. It's it's weird, and I mean that echoes throughout all aspects of my life. I mean, let's take YouTube as an example. I like constantly feel that I just don't have what it takes to, you know, let's just say become at all successful on YouTube. And I don't even mean like financially or anything, but just like, I would like to share my experiences and build a community, but alas, I'm constantly haunted by this fear of not being good enough. And yeah, I don't, quite frankly, I don't quite know how to combat that, which is quite annoying. Like, at least with some of these other things, I like kind of know how to, take steps towards beating them. But like, as far as this goes, proving myself wrong, as in like thinking that I'm not good enough for something and still proving that I am, it that never helped. So I don't know. And one more thing before I end the video. Um, in a previous video, I think it was the last video of this series, I mentioned, about bad phone usage habits. Just scrolling, something probably just about everyone can relate to. Uh, Scrolling on social media. Um, yeah, I have a bit of an update on that. So for me, my problem social media was YouTube. And so what I simply did is that I blocked YouTube on my phone. And it's really weird, obviously I can unblock it. And it's not even difficult. But just having that extra step there, for some reason, just keeps me reminded of, you know, why I don't want to start scrolling in the first place, why I decided to block it in the first place. So, if you too have trouble with a certain social media, you can try deleting that, or if it's something that's on your phone like YouTube and you just can't even delete it, or at least not easily, try blocking it. And especially, with like YouTube, I mean, sometimes I may need my phone to, check something on YouTube, some like tutorial video or something, sure. So it's good that I can, for though, in those situations I can unblock it, but like, it makes that tiny bit more inconvenient to just grab your phone and open it. That's something I know a lot of people do. They just grab their phone, and just because they don't have anything particular to do, they just open social media. If you have the app deleted or blocked, that just adds that tiny bit more, a few more steps to actually get it open, which means that you could easily like reduce your time just by, you'll only open it when you really actually want to check something on there. I hope that makes sense. All right. Well, yeah, I just wanted to update on that a bit. But yeah, see ya.